Hello, my name is Tiffany Wilridge, and I'm an administrative assistant here at the Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District. And today I'll be presenting on the Carrizo Saturated Sands Thickness Model, a unique tool developed by the district to calculate water rights for parcels situated over the Carrizo Aquifer. In this presentation, I'll provide an overview of the model, the scientific principles behind it, and the policy framework that guides its use for water rights allocation within our district. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you find this presentation both engaging and informative. Let's begin.
As we begin, it's important to understand how groundwater conservation districts became the state's preferred method of groundwater management. Every groundwater conservation district in Texas operates under the statutory regulations outlined in the Texas Water Code, Chapter 36. This legal framework is the foundation for all groundwater conservation districts in the state, emphasizing their role as the state's preferred method of groundwater management. They are tasked with protecting private property rights, balancing the conservation and development of groundwater resources to meet the state's needs, and employing the best available science in their regulatory practices. This is achieved through rules developed, adopted, and published by each district, which regulate the spacing of wells and production from the aquifers they are charged with managing. This presentation will focus on how Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District accomplishes the directives highlighted in this slide. By employing a unique model developed using the best available science, the district manages the Carrizo Aquifer, prioritizing private property rights, the sustainability of the resource, all while supporting the economic and environmental health of our region for the future generations. But first, let's take a look at the background of GCGCD. The Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District, or GCGCD, is located in Seguin, Texas. The district's boundary overlays 435 square miles of Guadalupe County, which constitutes just over 61% of the county. The remaining portion of the county falls under the jurisdiction of the Edwards Aquifer Authority, but only as related to the Edwards Aquifer. Established in 1997 by acts of the 75th Legislature, GCGCD has a long-stated commitment to protecting and managing groundwater resources. In 1999, a confirmation election was held, and the district's first set of rules was established. November 2024 marks our 25th anniversary, celebrating 2.5 decades of dedicated service. The GCGCD boundary follows I-10 just north of Seguin, up Highway 123 to FM 20, to the San Marcos River, to the Gonzales and Wilson County lines, and then to Cibolo Creek as the western boundary back to I-10. The Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District overlies the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifers, which play a crucial role in the region's water supply. According to the 2020 census, the district is home to roughly 45,000 residents, highlighting the importance of effective groundwater management. Understanding the aquifers we manage is crucial to appreciating the significance of our work. Let's now delve into one of the key aquifers under our jurisdiction, the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer. The Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer is one of 9 major aquifers in Texas. It extends from the Louisiana border to the Mexican border adjacent to the Gulf Coast Aquifer. Composed mainly of interbedded gravel, silt, clay, and lignite, it reaches up to 3,000 feet in thickness with an average freshwater saturated thickness of 670 feet across 66 counties. Water quality varies regionally, with isolated pockets of slightly to moderately saline groundwater in some areas, while the Wilcox regions typically have hard water with higher TDS concentrations, and the Carrizo areas generally have a lower TDS. It's important to note that while the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer is categorized as a single aquifer in Texas, in Guadalupe County, an impermeable clay layer separates the sands of the Carrizo from the clays of the Wilcox, resulting in isolated layers within the aquifer. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at each of those layers. The Carrizo Aquifer is predominantly composed of coarse, well-sorted sands and gravel. The high permeability of the sand layer facilitates substantial movement of water storage, making the aquifer a reliable source of groundwater in our area. Its thickness varies significantly, ranging from less than 1 foot to approximately 700 feet in the deepest sections of Guadalupe County. The outcrop region, also referred to as recharge zones, are where the Carrizo sands are exposed at the surface. Rainwater infiltrates these zones, replenishing the aquifer, helping to sustain groundwater levels to ensure the aquifer's long-term viability. Protecting these areas is essential to prevent contamination and over-extraction, which could degrade water quality and reduce availability. Characterized by relatively low TDS levels, the Carrizo Aquifer provides fresh groundwater that is particularly desirable for drinking water, with public water supply wells common. While the interbedded clay layers add some variability, they also play a role in creating localized zones of confined water, further supporting the aquifer's storage capacity. Understanding the geological structure of the Carrizo Aquifer sets the stage for exploring how water is held and distributed within these sands. Next, we will delve into the concept of saturated sands within the aquifer, examining how these fully saturated layers contribute to its water storage and movement capabilities. In the Carrizo Aquifer, saturated sands are crucial for storing and transmitting groundwater due to high porosity and permeability. When water infiltrates into these sand layers, it permeates the voids between the sand grains, filling the tiny pores until they are completely occupied. This process results in a state of saturation where the sand cannot absorb any additional water as all available pore space is filled. As water moves through these sands, natural filtration influenced by the aquifer's transmissivity and mineral content help maintain low TDS levels, providing a reliable and fresh water supply. Next, we will discuss the composition of the Wilcox Aquifer, which is significantly different than the Carrizo sands. The Wilcox Aquifer is a deeper groundwater resource underlining the base of the Carrizo Aquifer with depths ranging from 200 to approximately 3,000 feet. Primarily composed of clay and rock, the Wilcox Aquifer is divided into confining layers referred to as the Middle and Lower Wilcox, each with different geologic compositions. The water chemistry is considered slightly saline to saline with higher TDS levels. The presence of clay and rock affects both the permeability and water quality of the Wilcox Aquifer, making it distinct in its characteristics. With an understanding of the geological characteristics of the Wilcox Aquifer and its composition, we can now explore how the various layers of the aquifer influence the application of the Carrizo saturated sands thickness model. As I mentioned earlier, in our region, the Carrizo and Wilcox aquifers are considered separate layers. The Carrizo aquifer's geological homogeneity, or simply stated, the similar nature of the sands, enabled the district to model its saturation and storage capabilities. The uniformity of the Carrizo sands allowed for the creation of the GCGCD saturated sands thickness model. Unlike the Carrizo aquifer, the Wilcox aquifer is composed of multiple layers of varying clay and rock types, which introduce significant variability in permeability and water storage characteristics. The multiple layers create a heterogeneous structure that complicates the application of the saturated sand thickness model. The varying properties of each layer means that a single layer model cannot confidently represent the aquifer's behavior. Having explored the distinct characteristics and dynamics of the Carrizo and Wilcox aquifers, we will now discuss the development of the saturated sands thickness model. In 2003, the saturated sands thickness model was created by GCGCD. The model visually represents the aquifer's depth, with warmer colors indicating the thicker, deeper portions, and the cooler colors showing the recharge zone or outcrop region. Using the Guadalupe County Appraisal District's data to define legal acreage, each parcel is allocated a portion of the total volume of saturated sands beneath it, converting this into water rights in acre-feet for property owners. The 2003 model integrated well observations and pre-existing aquifer data with GCAD's comprehensive geographic and tabular databases. Additionally, groundwater scientists generated contours based on these observations, which were then interpolated from existing wells and well logs. The model's data processing involved creating a GIS database where a hard copy map with contour intervals was scanned and rectified using control points, which included X and Y coordinates derived from reference points like road intersections, county lines, and stream segments. This rectification performed through polynomial adjustments ensured the spatial accuracy needed to calculate the sands thickness used for the allocation of water rights. At the time, the model based on the best available science in 2003 offered a methodical approach for calculating saturated sand thickness. We commend our board of directors for their forward-thinking vision for anticipating the need to develop this model. Having explored the development and application of the 2003 Carrizo saturated sands thickness model, let's now examine the equation used to calculate the saturated sands thickness. Calculating saturated thickness, we use this equation, where R equals water rights, A equals the legal acreage as defined by the appraisal district, T equals average thickness defined by the model, V equals total volume calculated at 13.5 million acre feet, which is the extractable storage within the Carrizo aquifer. P equals the annual production cap, which is currently set at 16,000 acre feet. Now that we understand the equation, let's look at some examples. In this example, we will look at two random parcels taken from our model, one in the shallow outcrop and one in the deeper section of the Carrizo aquifer. Moving on, we will look at the updates to the 2003 saturated sands thickness model. In 2022, the district updated the Carrizo saturated sands thickness model by employing advanced technologies and incorporating the most updated available science. Groundwater Availability Model, or GAM, data provided crucial insights into aquifer dynamics, while TWDB reports offered foundational hydrological data on the Carrizo Aquifer. The LBG Guyton report further redefined the geological framework, improving saturated sand thickness calculations. The BRACS, or Brackish Resource Aquifer Characterization System, was used to identify wells within the district that have available electric logs. Many deep oil and gas wells listed in BRACS provided valuable data on geological unit boundaries, which helped in mapping the Carrizo Aquifer by revealing the tops and bottoms of these units. This data helped in mapping the boundaries of the Carrizo Aquifer. The geophysical logs provided detailed subsurface geological information, which is essential for more redefined aquifer mapping. By analyzing the logs from various wells drilled in the district, geologists could confidently describe depth and composition of the Carrizo Aquifer, including its transitions and boundaries. Actual water level data was instrumental in defining the top of the saturated portion of the aquifer, marking the beginning of groundwater saturation. The District's 6 monitoring wells drilled, logged, and completed by November 2020 were integral to the data collection of water levels. The aquifer elevation data helped determine the bottom of the saturated portion of the aquifer. By defining this lower boundary, the model could calculate the saturated sand thickness of the aquifer. To obtain accurate surface elevations, LIDAR was used. LIDAR stands for Light Detection and Ranging. It's a remote sensing technology using laser beams to measure precise distances. Each well location was assigned a surface elevation using a 1-meter resolution LIDAR raster dataset. By subtracting the depth from the surface elevation, the mean sea level elevation value for the bottom of the Carrizo Aquifer was determined. Enhanced by new scientific data and methodologies, the 2022 model offers a detailed depiction of the saturated sands within Guadalupe County. Key improvements including integrating the TWDB BRACS database and district monitoring wells, filling gaps in previously sparse data. The integration of diverse data sources allowed for a clear delineation of the aquifer's saturated sand thickness, with geophysical logs and district drilled wells providing a confident determination of the aquifer's bottom edge. These enhancements led to a better representation of the Carrizo Aquifer, with one of the most important outcomes being a more defined edge of the outcrop. Now that we have an understanding of how the model was created and updated, we will take a look at the backbone of the model. The GCGCD works in cooperation with the County Appraisal District to obtain the parcel data that defines the legal acreage used in the model. The full dataset covers the entire county, which includes over 90,000 parcels. The district must then crop the data to remove data deemed not relevant for the model and remove parcels that lie outside the district's boundaries. The filtered dataset is then integrated into the district's model, which calculates the percent saturation of sands, further filtering out parcels that are not situated off the Carrizo Aquifer, assigning those parcels a value of 0 water rights. The data is compared to previous years, and updates are noted if associated with current permits. After multi-step verification processes have been completed, the finalized water rights allocations are publicly distributed, posted on the district's website. Now that we have an understanding of the aquifer and how the saturated sand thickness model was developed, let's take a closer look at the policy decisions associated with allocating water rights as calculated by the model. First, let's revisit GCGCD's main goal. The mission of the Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District is to conserve, preserve, protect, and prevent the waste of groundwater resources. We aim to provide a fair and equitable way to allocate water rights by developing rules and policies as directed by Chapter 36 of the Texas Water Code. So how does GCGCD allocate water rights? The district has adopted the policy of correlative rights for water rights distribution. The correlative rights doctrine is a legal principle limiting landowners to a reasonable amount of a shared resource, in this case groundwater, and is correlated to the amount of land owned above the resource, the aquifer, where X number of water rights equals X number of surface acreage. Simply stated, each landowner's water right is proportional to the amount of surface land they own. In our district, for the Wilcox Aquifer water rights, they are linearly correlated to the surface acreage above, allocating half an acre-foot per surface acre owned. For the Carrizo Aquifer, the same doctrine applies. Groundwater rights are allocated proportionally by calculating the saturated thickness of the sands below the surface acreage above. By a policy decision, the board chose to allocate only a portion of the available water, designating part of it as a water right. A second policy decision was to establish a permitting cap, which represents the maximum volume of water that can be extracted from the Carrizo Aquifer each year. This annual production cap, or APC, is a policy tool used by the GCGCD to regulate groundwater extraction and promote sustainable use of the Carrizo Aquifer. The GCGCD board established the APC through a thorough review process that included analyzing scientific data, incorporating public feedback, and considering both desired future conditions and modeled available groundwater. The first annual production cap in 2003 was initially set at 12,580 acre-feet per year. In 2018, it was changed to 14,000 acre-feet per year. The decision to adjust the cap was driven by new scientific insights revealing that more water was available than initially estimated. Recognizing that the district's previous approaches were overly conservative, the board voted to increase the cap to better reflect the actual water availability while safeguarding private property rights. As of June 1, 2022, the APC is set at 16,000 acre-feet per year. This cap is designed to approximate the average annual recharge of the aquifer. By setting the production limit slightly above the recharge amount, the district aims to manage the aquifer sustainably and protect the thinner sands of the outcrop region. This graph depicts the current APC set at 16,000 acre-feet per year versus the total permanent amount of water for the Carrizo Aquifer versus the actual amount of permanent water produced for 2023. When setting the annual production cap, the board considers the adopted desired future conditions and the modeled available groundwater estimates, which include both historical and proposed pumping projects 50-plus years into the future. The current MAG values are 14,624 acre-feet by the year 2080, while the current DFC states that 75% of the saturated thickness remains in the year 2080. Now that we've discussed how GCGCD allocates water rights and the policy used to implement the model, let's shift to some of the challenges our district is currently facing. Guadalupe County is projected to undergo significant population expansion within the following years. Since the 2020 census, the region has seen a surge in new development proposals. Approximately 58 new subdivisions have been proposed, equating to roughly 17,112 single-family units according to Seguin Economic Development Center. This surge in housing development directly translates to an increased demand for water resources. The city of Seguin has already experienced a dramatic increase in the population, growing by 51.5% since the year 2000. This growth trend has resulted in a greater need for expanded utilities and infrastructure to support new developments. The cumulative effect of this historical growth, coupled with future projections, underscores the urgency of addressing the water supply and infrastructure challenges. In addition to logistical and financial challenges, there are environmental considerations. Increased water extraction and infrastructure development can impact local ecosystems and water sources. Ensuring that growth is managed in a way that preserves environmental health and promotes sustainability is a critical aspect of addressing these challenges. The anticipated growth and the associated demands on water resources will require coordinated efforts between community leaders, policymakers, and residents. Effective planning and strategic policy implementation are essential to address potential issues and ensure that water supply can meet future needs without compromising quality or accessibility. How does the district handle this growth? Let's revisit what a GCD's main goal is. A GCD's main goal is to protect private property rights, balance the conservation and development of groundwater resources to meet the state's needs, and employ the best available science in their regulatory practices. This is achieved through rules developed, adopted, and published by each district, which regulate the spacing of wells and production from the aquifers they are charged with managing. We believe that GCGCD's Carrizo saturated sands thickness model and water rights allocation methods are an effective way to accomplish these goals, but with rapid growth come additional challenges. One major challenge the district is dealing with relates to the subdivision of parcels. The saturated thickness model uses the legal acreage as determined by the Guadalupe County Appraisal District, or GCAD, to assign water rights. With the surge in rapid population growth and development in Guadalupe County, the Appraisal District has shifted from publishing an annual certified database to making weekly updates to legal acreage and ownership files. Any change in the legal acreage of a parcel over the Carrizo Aquifer directly impacts the calculated water rights assigned to that parcel. In order for GCGCD to process even a single parcel's change, the district must obtain the full data set of 90,000 plus parcels from GCAD and restart the processing of trimming the data to the district's boundary. This process is time-consuming and resource-intensive. In response to these challenges, the board took action to address the issue. As of May 2024, the board passed a resolution to align with GCAD's new schedule for updating parcel data. The district will now collect information regarding new parcel data twice a year at the end of April or beginning of May when GCAD releases its last update before pausing for property tax season, and the district will update the parcel data annually again in December or January, but only if major developmental changes have been made over the Carrizo Aquifer that would warrant an update to the model. The creation of the saturated sand thickness model had one unanticipated development: the emergence of a water market. To obtain a permit, proof of sufficient water rights to produce the requested acre-feet of water must be provided, and these water rights can be acquired from anyone possessing Carrizo water rights within GCGCD boundary. By rule, Carrizo water rights can be transferred, leased, or sold. An unforeseen result of the implementation of the model has been the creation of a water market within the boundaries of the Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District. The district posts the most current allocations on its website for public access and transparency. The GCGCD Carrizo Saturated Sands Thickness Model is a unique tool developed and utilized by Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District, setting it apart from the other 99 groundwater districts in Texas. This model, used exclusively by GCGCD to calculate and allocate water rights based on the saturated sand thickness of the Carrizo Aquifer, showcases an innovative approach to groundwater management. Its effectiveness and distinctiveness have been studied and validated by professionals in the field, as well as other GCDs researching ways to better distribute water rights in a fair and equitable way while supporting sustainable groundwater management. As the district adjusts to the challenges posed by population growth and land use change, GCGCD will continue to integrate new data and advanced technologies into its management practices. GCGCD is well positioned to make informed, science-based decisions to protect our groundwater resources for our future generations.
Thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation. I hope that you found this presentation helpful in understanding the Guadalupe County Groundwater Conservation District's Carrizo Saturated Sands Thickness Model. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. All of my contact information will be on the final slide. Thank you.